Ladies, gentlemen, I am the Art King. Greatly appreciate you all for tuning into my channel. What we're going to be talking about today is a very cheap, matter of fact, it's free, a very free dry fire drill that I found out about maybe 3 years ago. Okay. So, of course, when the pandemic had hit, there were a lot of people that were heavily affected by it, right? You had loss of jobs, you had loss of income, all kind of stuff like that, right? And then just on top of that, entertainment, free time, spending time with your family, all kind of stuff like that. But, of course, I think with the gun community, we took a pretty big hit because we weren't able to go to the gun range and train and practice like we normally do, right? So normally I would go to the range about once a week. Couldn't do that because of the pandemic. And then also at the same time, I was having a little girl come May. So, a lot of my time, my money, my resources were tied up into those two things, making sure that my family was taken care of, making sure that my daughter was taken care of and everything like that. So one of my buddies had come home from the Army, right? I think he came home probably a month before everything had shut down. And he said, yeah, I know it sucks that you can't go to the gun range, but there's still ways that you can keep yourself sharp and deadly. And one of those ways that he taught me was the paper drill. Basically what it is you're folding up a piece of paper and putting it in between the barrel and the slide. Now, first of all, before we start handling any firearm, the mag well is empty. The barrel is empty. It took me a while to get this piece of paper in there for whatever reason. But anyway, that paper actually keeps the slide out of battery, okay? Now, what you end up having is, you'll know it's a battery because it's not fitting flush with the frame, okay? You'll see the guide rod exposed, and then you'll see part of your barrel exposed if you have a barrel longer than the stock barrel. Since this is a threaded one, of course it's going to stick out more. But then on top of that, you'll see that the barrel itself is not fitting flush with the top of the slide, okay? Now, not every firearm does that, but I know for a fact that Glock has that feature where it just, smoothly runs all together. All right. So, what this does, and this has helped me out a great deal, okay? This truly has helped me out a great deal, especially when it comes to drawing my weapon and put my sights on target. This helps with drawing from the holster. This helps with trigger finger placement, right? It helps with a whole lot of stuff, all right? So let me give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. Now, first of all, when you put that piece of paper in there, make sure, of course, that is not impeding the sight of the rear sight and front sight. Okay, so you should have a clear picture just like that. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is you're going to throw yourself off. You're going to be a little distracted. I know with me, I wasn't really distracted, but, some people have like that wandering eye. They just, got to be looking at that one thing that's not supposed to be there. Okay, I don't know if you call it like ADHD or whatever the case may be, OCD, whatever. But this definitely helped me out a great deal because it helps me as far as getting back to the basics. I'm able to pull the trigger. That's another neat thing about this drill. I'm able to pull the trigger and it'll reset every single time. Okay, now it's not completely reset, but see, the trigger safety had just flipped out. But it's maybe like, maybe a 1/16 of an inch difference between where it normally would be and where it is while you're running this drill. And that's perfectly fine, okay? Maybe a 1/16 of an inch is not that big of a deal. Might be like a 32nd of an inch, all right? But it still allows you to reset that trigger and find out where your shots are gonna go. So if you are, if you're practicing drills, right? Basically what you're doing is you get in your regular stance or your comfortable stance, Isosceles Weaver stance. Normally what I like to do is I like to keep it in my workspace and I'll drive it out, right? And as I'm pulling the trigger, I'm doing it not at a very fast pace, but at a decent pace to where I can see where my front sight is moving to. Okay, which way is it moving? All right, is it coming up? Is it coming down? Is it moving left, right? Do I need to readjust my grip? Do I need to take a different stance? What do I need to work on? Okay. Now, is it going to have the same recoil and the same feel as a live round? Absolutely not. But it does give you a general idea as to what you're working with and what areas you need to improve on. Okay. So when I first started this, I started drawing from the holster, outside the waistband carry. Concealed carry started doing the same thing, just popping up that garment, learning how to clear my clothing out the way, pulling it up, bringing it in my workspace, and driving it straight out there. Okay, so it's the same thing every time, and it really helps out a great deal, especially when you're moving slower, so that you better understand things. Because if you're a new shooter and you're just doing everything fast and you just you're not gonna learn anything. Okay, and very rarely are you going to be very effective when it comes time to go to the range, and especially when it comes time to defending your life. Okay, so that's something that you really want to keep in mind, is to slow it down, use as many techniques and drills that you can. Now, another great thing about this is some people have like that big pet peeve of pulling the trigger when there's nothing in there. Okay, and they don't like dry fire drills because they're like, oh, it damages the gun and it damages the firing pin and everything like that. But to me, in my opinion, guns are meant to take damage. They're meant to take abuse. How many times have we gone on YouTube and seen like a torture test for a Glock, right? Just to see how well it can hold up against, mud and dirt, water, all kind of stuff, right? I've seen one guy put slime, like kids' slime, in his gun, and coincidentally it still worked. I don't know how, but that's beside the point. But anyway, snap caps are good. Of course they cost money. You could go to your local gun store and probably find them there, but this is free. Okay, you don't have to rack the slide every time that you pull the trigger, every time it locks back. You don't have to interrupt your training. So for example, if I were to, let's say I'm standing in my bathroom right now, which is actually where I am, and I put a target paper on the wall, right? Obviously I'm not going to shoot it for real, but just to give me an idea as to what I'm aiming at, to help me get my sight and picture aligned. Let's say that, I get to pull in that trigger and I don't have this piece of paper in here. Okay, if I wanted to do consecutive pulls one after another, I would have to pull, rack the slide, pull, rack the slide, pull, rack the slide. And that's not the reality of what we're going to go through as concealed carriers or gun owners, right? In a self-defense situation or even at the range. All right, it's not a bolt-action weapon. It's a semi-automatic weapon, all right? So, we're going to continue to train how we fight and fight how we train, okay? So, of course, we're driving that weapon out there and we're taking shots, boom, 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 right? Now, do you absolutely have to have like a full 17 consecutive shots? No, you don't have to, imitate the full magazine. Just take about 4 or 5 shots, just see where your shots are landing, see where that front sight is wandering off to. If you could keep it dead in the middle or semi-dead in the middle between the rear sight and repeatedly pull that trigger, then you're doing something, okay? You know that you have good control and weapon manipulation over your pistol, over your EDC, okay? So again, just something to think about. You can draw from the holster, right? If you want to learn how to drive that weapon out there and get your sights on target, right? Learn how to maneuver, learn how to reload with your paper. Okay, learn how to do different things with your firearms while this piece of paper is in there. It'll allow you to have that same trigger reset feel, but of course without the recoil. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I greatly appreciate you all for tuning in today. I am the Art King again. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. God bless you all. Stay strapped, stay dangerous.